hit like 50, everyone like stops having sex, and it's like, I do not know what my students think. I think they think I'm a zombie and I sleep in my office, and I know that. Yeah. I have them asking me if I would come in like Saturday evening to sign their papers or whatever. And I'm like, no kids, no, I'm out of life. They also, I'm sure, even though they'll ask me quite politely where I went to school as an undergrad, they'll say, oh, you were an undergrad here. It's like, no, actually, I was a college student once, and no, it was not here. And you don't want to know what I was like as a college student. You guys are much better behaved than I was.
But I think, I think that inability that we have when we're younger to fully comprehend the world that produced our elders, in a way, I mean, maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit, in a way that gives them a quality of being seers, in the sense that the seer is someone who can bring a world into view that you otherwise don't have access to, at least imagine you have access to. And yeah, simply that.
Yeah. It's a world before the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had that experience with people that have been working in my office.
But even, I mean, like, you get a glimpse sometimes of, your parents will say something just a little revealing from 20 years before you existed, and suddenly this vista opens of how drastically different the world was, and that world made them. They came from that world like a traveler from another planet. And that's kind of awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it is. Do we have questions? Let's start with you, and then the lady behind you. Yep.
Well, I agree that we need to flesh out these characters a lot more in every genre. But also could part of it be that many of us who have families are thinking, wow, when I was single I had time to contemplate things. Maybe someday I will again. So there's that projection of like, oh look, my grandmother just sits at home all day and contemplates her flowers and her, you know, so she must be thinking wise things. And so maybe we're projecting that desire for solitude onto them in the form of wisdom.
When in actuality, she's having an affair with the mailman.
Yeah.
Or watching Indian soap opera.
Go ahead.
I was thinking that actually more from the other end, is that when you're reading one of these novels, people identify with the young protagonist, and the aged advisor is either supposed to be impartial or is a mommy daddy figure. And you want your mommy and daddy to care about you, and not about their spouse or other kids or anything.
Yeah. Very sure. That's fair.
So where's the fault lie then, and what's the solution? Is it that we don't want to see those? Because I think that we're all here because we acknowledge that there is a greater role for those characters of that, I suppose of that age, play within our stories. So is it editors telling us? Is it publishers? Is it the world around us that's saying, no, we don't want to see this disclose? Sort of a twist that we don't really want to see?
Good question. I suspect that some of it is sort of risk-averse marketing, that, the kinetically young and the stereotypically beautiful are guaranteed sales, let's look at that.
I think one of the, to jump over to the movies for a second, one of my favorite parts of Fury Road was the Hurley.
Yeah.
And there are these, this badass gangs of, older women on motorcycles. Yeah, and it was, I wanted to know more about them. I want them to have their own movie, and they did, kind of hint at having this whole other story that came before Max and Furiosa showed up. And I don't know if it's that we're necessarily averse, it's just that we're not telling the stories yet, or that those stories aren't getting featured as much because know they're out there, maybe they're just not getting the reviews.
I think some of it might be tradition as well. I mean, way back when my parents were young, and my dad started reading science fiction, genre was geared mainly to a young teenage audience. It wasn't assumed that adults would even read this stuff. And so they featured very young protagonists, as we do today with YA and even what's now called young adult, because you want a protagonist, especially for teenagers and young adults, to feel that it's about the age, maybe a little bit older than the reader themselves. So this is where things got started, I think, and I think in some ways the genre hasn't grown up as much as the readership has, and we haven't actually started thinking yet, wait a minute, now we're actually writing for real grown-ups? We can have real grown-ups in our books? And it's okay?
As far as fantasy goes, I wonder if there might be less of it, because Gandalf is such a big part of The Lord of the Rings, and then there were so many imitators trying to copy that success that it became a bit trite to always have this one figure who was going to come in, make pronouncements. As you know, Bob, he must destroy the ring by throwing it into the, etc. And I'm wondering if that might be one reason why one would not want to do that. And let without a twist of some kind, because...
And he was on stage a lot in The Lord of the Rings, and he was kicking ass, although he was ancient. You know, he did a lot of these things that are often reserved for the young figure in the story.
Yeah, I guess if you're... Yeah.
Well, he had magic, you know?
Yes, but it had the beard. The beard is very important for this figure. Kind of half serious. I mean, Dallben.
And he had fireworks.
Yes, yeah.
Come on.
Should we do one more and then final thoughts?
Lady over that lady said.
Well, I was just going to say that we also have, Tolkien was very, very Catholic, and so sort of a priest figure would already not have a spouse or...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
But also, for a while, during the Cold War especially, we had this thing where adults didn't tell young people about their lives, and you were very private, and grandmothers didn't tell their grandkids what they got up to when they were teenagers. My grandmother certainly didn't. I found out stuff after she died that I had no idea about. And so we have also this cultural thing here in the U.S. where we just don't talk about it like that. And so that's probably part of it.
Final thoughts? I had a question in my head for final thoughts for a second. Now it's totally gone. Do you have a favorite figure was advisor, attached or unattached?
I'll blank on that trying to produce it, but I will say that the wise figure who wanted my 4-book epic fantasy series was a mink. He was in another world. He was human. In the whole world of this story, he couldn't enter the world as a human. He was a mink. So he was not physically strong. He was not human. And I always wanted to know him better and better. And because we were never anywhere near anything that produced his origin story was never on the page. And the only thing I'll say that made it onto the page that I thought was very revealing about him was that he admitted at one point that there had been a time before magic was part of him. And all of that life was lost to him when the really powerful magic that is who he is in this story came into being. And I think maybe that is still something, one of those Jungian things that we cling to, is that a certain insight, the secret fire, if you will, burns away other options into that kind of attachment. That's all. The kind of attachment that comes with families.
or too many. It generally is whatever I'm reading right at the moment.
We've got the stop sign, so thank you, everyone.